Hello and welcome to Financially Speaking. My name is Ryan Connor from Bushka Retirement Solution and Bushka Wealth Management. If you'd like more information about what you hear on our show today, give us a call at 715-355 4445 or visit us online at retirewithbushka.com. And while at our website, click on the radio page to check out past shows and to subscribe to our program on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music. Now, reflecting on my career in the financial services industry, I'm hard pressed to recall a time when a client told me that they didn't want to live as long and healthy life as possible. And why not? Many people work hard for decades to put themselves into a position to enjoy their retirement, one that features security and ample opportunities to travel and spend time with family and friends. But the unfortunate cold reality is that the longer you and healthier that you live, the more money you're ultimately going to need. And I think many of us would relish the idea of being healthy enough and feeling good enough to take a 2-week cruise when we're 90 years old. But the key here is your finances need to be as healthy as you are before you can head out to port. And on our show today, we're going to consider how you may be able to manage longevity risk. But before we dive into our topic, I'm going to introduce my co-host for this week, who I know is already plotting a retirement full of live music and vinyl hunting. First with me today is also with Bushka Retirement Solutions and Bushka Wealth Management is Ryan Pekka. Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Ryan.
Good. Glad to hear it. And as always, we are also joined by Tony Shore. How are you doing, Tony?
Good. And yeah, I am a record collector. I have a huge vinyl and CD collection. So yep, that's me. I love music. You guys, I can't believe it. My two Ryans. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I'm working on a sitcom called My Two Ryans, and it's just about you guys and dealing with you two on a weekly basis. It's going to be hilarious. That's all I can say. But for the show today, I promised you guys I will change my name to Ryan.
Perfect.
Just to make things even more confusing.
Won't lead to any issues for listeners.
We already have two Ryans. I think I'll stay Tony then for today because we've already got two Ryans, Ryan Connor and Ryan Pekka from Bushka Wealth Management and Bushka Retirement Solutions. You guys are great. Thanks for having me on your show this week. Cole, missing in action this week. Cole Bruner, who's usually with us. You guys are great to be here and do the show today. It sounds like a great topic, too, longevity risk. And nobody wants to run out of money in retirement, and we're living longer. You know what I always say, guys? I always say you don't want your bank account to hit zero before your blood pressure does. Right? Am I right on that?
That is a good way to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. So before we get into all that, let's talk about, just for our listeners out there, get to know us personally, what we've been dealing with, how we're doing. Last night, for the first time, I have done a lot of handyman work and put together a lot of things in my life, but I installed a ceiling fan at home.
Okay. Oh, boy.
That's a fun experience.
It is not. And it took me way longer than I thought it would. And here's why. And I could do one in a third of the time if I did the same one tonight, right? The instruction manual for that and I've put together every form of IKEA gadget and furniture, electronics that need assembly, kids stuff that you have to put together, bikes that come in parts. But these were the single worst instructions I have ever seen come with something to assemble. There were literally steps missing. They just assume, it's just like, yeah, we're not going to show you how to do this. We're not going to show a picture. We're not even, in fact, some stuff, we're not going to mention it. We'll just not mention that. We'll just leave whole steps out. So it was a frustrating experience. My wife and my daughter, who is home, she's just graduated from college. She's staying with us this summer. They heard me use words that they've never heard Dad use before. I don't use bad language, but wow. Last night I wove a tapestry of profanity that will hang in the air for years to come.
How poetic.
To quote Christmas Story.
Yeah.
So how about you guys? What's going on? Ryan, Connor, how about you? What's going on with you? Any exciting news? Have you installed a ceiling fan lately?
I've not installed the ceiling fan, though. I did install a new double car seat monitor in my car last night. And what was very helpful with that is it came with a QR code that sent you to a YouTube video for installation. So you didn't have to just read the instructions. You could watch them do the steps as you were doing it, which made that process extremely easy. It took 10 minutes start to finish.
Yeah, and a lot of the boxes for the fans when I bought this one had QR codes for videos on them. This box did not, and when I searched the exact model of fan, other models came up from this company, but not this one. And I mean, I looked through hundreds of YouTube videos on the list. None were for this model. I searched for this model specifically, and you know how it says search results, missing word, and it was that. And I tried the model number and the name of that particular fan. The brand name and fans came up, but not this one. So that's great. And it's funny because the same company, most of the boxes had QR codes, but I happened to pick the model that did not. So that's good. How about you, Ryan Pekka? What are you up to?
No assembly on anything. So it sounds like I've got the best week in charge. It sounds Tony, it sounds a lot like even when my dad had instructions, he used a lot of profanity when he built things. So
I'm
probably
glad
for
I'm
the
not
best.
alone.
I think I may or may not have gotten those genes from him. So we'll take the win on the no assembly.
Yeah, there you go. You're taking that win. Well, I hope you've been doing good. Let's jump right into our topic today. I mean, you know, a lot of people think they're going to live forever. You talk to half the people, they think, oh, I'm going to make it to 90, 100, no problem. Other people are like, I'm not going to live that long. I don't need to worry about longevity and retirement. And most of the time, they're both wrong. Right? You never know, but people are living longer and longer. So where do you want to begin on this topic?
Sure. Let's kick things off.
Ryan, why don't you go first?
All right.
Oh, wait.
We'll both talk at the same time. But we could start with a Kiplinger article. It's called How to Manage Longevity Risk in Retirement. And it has what I think are some useful insights in that article. The first thing it addresses is longevity risk and the fear that comes with that. You know, one of the biggest mysteries in life isn't where the roads end, it's when. And that's unknown. That's what we call longevity risk, or risk of living longer than you expected and running out of money before you run out of life, before that blood pressure is at zero, so to speak, Tony. So this fear is really real. In fact, surveys show that for a lot of retirees, running out of money is even scarier than death in and of itself. And who can blame them? Retirement isn't a finish line. It's an open road for many. And for many people, it's a long, long road as well. Thanks to medical advances and better lifestyles, people are living longer than ever. Back in 1950s, the average life expectancy was 68, but today it's pushing 79.5. And for women, it's even higher. It's nearly 82 years, according to this article. So if you and your spouse both make it to 65, there's a 50% chance that one of you sees your 93rd birthday.
Wow.
So here's a question. Are your finances built to go that length of time? There are a lot of factors that play into how long we live. Some are in our hands and some are not so much in our hands. But the good news is you don't have to leave your financial future to chance. With good planning, a good strategy, and a guide in your corner, you can stretch every dollar to go to the distance and make sure your money lasts as long as you do.
Yeah, and that's the goal, and we're going to go over some strategies to make that happen. And what I like to say, guys, is the good news is we're living longer. The bad news is we're living longer, right? Right?
Exactly.
Kind of a good news, bad news scenario. So what's the first step, Ryan Connor?
Yeah, so if you want to make your money last as long as you do, you've got to start with one key question. How long will I live? Now, we don't need to try and play fortune teller here because nobody knows exactly how long that they're going to live. But the more that you understand your own personal timeline, the better you can plan to avoid outliving your income capabilities. So this is what we call facing that longevity risk head on. It's not about fear. It's not about being scared, but it's about taking control and having power over your circumstances. So here's where we want to begin. The first thing you need to do is take a look at your own personal health. What Ryan Pekka was talking about as far as those averages, those are averages across the population. Every individual is going to have their own health circumstances, their own family history, and their own particular lifestyle. Now, these can help give us a solid estimate of about how long we'll need to make our money work. For a very quick and easy tool, you can check out the Social Security Life Expectancy Calculator. That is pretty basic, but it does give us a ballpark to start with. For something deeper, there's a Blue Zones True Vitality test. It is more detailed. It gives you more insight on when you live, not just, hey, when year you happen to be born in, which is kind of how the Social Security Life Expectancy Calculator works. Now, the more you know here, the better your plan, so the more detailed you can get in these expectations, the better you're going to understand your timeline, and to then build a financial strategy that's not just smart in the short term, but sustainable in the long term.
Yeah, exactly. And that's great. In fact, I wanted to do the old NBC promo, The More You Know, with the star that goes across the screen. I'm probably dating myself. They still do that, I think. And these tools are great. Remember, for our listeners out there and viewers, ssa.gov, or that's ssa.gov, will bring you to the official Social Security website, and then bluezones.com. That's bluezones, plural.com. And those are great resources and tools.
Yeah. And once you've got a rough idea on how long you might live, the next step is figuring out how much retirement income you're going to need. According to Northwestern Mutual's 2024 Planning and Progress study cited in the article, most retirees now believe they'll need close to $1.5 million to retire comfortably. That number jumped 15% just in the last year, way faster than inflation rose. And let's be honest, comfort doesn't come cheap these days. There's a classic rule of thumb that says you'll need about 80% of your pre-retirement income to maintain your lifestyle. That's just, that number's just kind of a starting point for you. You might need more, you might need less. It all depends on your health, your hobbies, whether you plan to travel the world or just frequent the local golf course. But if longevity runs in your family, or if you're planning on retiring early, like 50 or 55, then your money has to stretch even further.
Yeah, it would. And that's where you guys come in. I wouldn't want to do any of this planning without working with a trusted financial services professional to, number one, not miss anything, number two, avoid making costly mistakes, and to get a second opinion, at least on where I'm at, and get that plan in place. It's so important. So, Ryan Connor, why don't you let our listeners and viewers out there know how they can get a hold of you to set up that no charge, no obligation consultation? They can get a hold of either Ryan, either of the Ryans, my two Ryans. You can never have too many Ryans there at Bushka.
Yeah, so listeners can visit our website at retirewithbushka.com. That is retirewithbuska.com, or give our office a call at 715-355-4445. And discuss your particular questions, your particular concerns about longevity risk, your overall financial strategy, or any other parts of your retirement or investing strategy. Again, like Tony, like you said, it's a no cost, no obligation consultation. So folks can come in, we can answer their questions. You can meet with not only the Ryans, but also our other suite of advisors as well.
All right. Sounds good. Now, we've been talking about the importance of retirement planning when it comes to longevity risk. You touched on what longevity risk is and why estimating your lifespan and your retirement income needs is so important. What do you have for us next?
Sure. The same Kiplinger article, How to Manage Longevity Risk in Retirement, has more information that I think will be useful to our listeners today, including that your next steps for protecting yourself from longevity risk is maximizing your Social Security payment. Social Security plays a huge role in most people's retirement. In fact, half of all married couples and more than 70% of single retirees lean on it for at least half of their retirement income. That's directly from the Social Security Administration. That's a pretty big deal. All that means is you need a strategy to get the most out of it. Now, here's a move that's often overlooked, but it's powerful as well. It's waiting. Just wait. So if you can delay taking your benefit from 62 to closer to 70, you could boost your monthly payout by as much as 8% a year. and it adds up. And if you're looking at a benefit that's around 76 to 77% higher at age 70 than if you jumped in early, that's not just a raise, it's a retirement power move. That's not all. If you're married, there's another more savvy move called the 62-70 split. And that's when one spouse, usually the lower earner, claims at 62. Meanwhile, the higher earner holds off until 70. That way, it unlocks spousal benefits in the short term and a stronger survivor benefit down the road. It's not just about today's check. It's about building a lifetime income strategy that fights off longevity risks and keeps you funded deep into the future. If you're serious about retiring with confidence, don't just wing Social Security. Try to maximize what you can get from it.
Yeah, and speaking of maximizing Social Security, the best way to do that is to work with your team there. And I know you run a Social Security maximization report for folks. And if our listeners or viewers want to get that, they can just contact you. They can go to retirewithbushka.com, set up a no-charge consultation. You have to have that report run. It's takes your personal information and lets you know exactly when the best time based on your situation is to file. And it gives you all sorts of options and talks about what might work best for you, spousal benefits, a lot of filing strategies. I think that's very critical. Work with a financial professional on your Social Security maximization. That's huge.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's something that we run for any of our clients who have not already filed for Social Security, because at a minimum, it provides them the information, and then we can help determine within their more comprehensive income plan, what strategy to utilize. In addition to Social Security, the article also recommends looking at another option to befit your financial strategy when you're concerned about longevity risk, and that is annuities. Now, annuities can have a particular reputation. Some folks hear the word and they start running for the hills. But realistically, annuities can be a very powerful player in your overall retirement income game, especially when you use them the correct way. At their core, annuities are designed, especially if they're income annuities, to provide guaranteed income. And in a world full of market swings and economic uncertainty, that guarantee might be worth its weight in gold. Now, not all annuities are created equally. Some are very simple and affordable and designed to deliver steady income that doesn't have a bunch of fine print, doesn't have a bunch of complex structures, aren't very costly. Sometimes those particular products can look like they're built more to benefit the advisor than the client. That's why trust and guidance and working with the fiduciary are going to be essential in that regard.
Yeah, I would assume so. And so I know we've talked about annuities in past episodes, and they can provide at least some degree of retirement income security, and that is important. But make sure you discuss your options with a financial services professional who's a fiduciary and is going to look out for your best interests. And because there are varying types of annuities, as you mentioned, and variable annuities can have high fees and be subject to risk, but yet there's great annuities with no fees and principal protection and certain guarantees. So you really want to make sure there's some great tools out there. Just make sure you're using the right one for your situation, right?
That's right. The article shares that Morningstar research backs this concept up. When used as a bond substitute, a partial allocation to a solid income annuity can actually improve your retirement outcomes. One popular type is the deferred income annuity, or what some call a longevity annuity. You invest a chunk of money today, and down the road, maybe 10, 15, 20 years later, it starts sending you guaranteed checks. So when you've got a longevity annuity, you've got a potentially secure stream of income for your later years in life, and you got it at a cost that makes sense. But annuities aren't magic. They're not for everyone. There are some trade-offs, things like no built-in inflation protection unless you add a rider, or stiff penalties if you need to cash it out early. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a tool, a powerful one at that, but it is a tool that only fits if it's right for you. That's why, as both Ryan Connor, Tony, you've made clear, you shouldn't do this alone. There are a lot of different annuities out there, each with its own terms, timelines, different kind of variations and tools and aspects that work differently for you. Before you lock anything in, work with a financial services professional who actually knows their stuff and who puts your interests first.
Yeah, and so I want to move on to and ask you a question about withdrawals and your withdrawal rate. I mean, most retirees, a lot of them anyway, have a lot of money tied up in the market for their retirement funds, or income is attached or in the market. So, can how they withdraw or when or their rate help their longevity risk minimize it? Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. The longer that someone is planning on being retired, the more pressure it's going to put on their portfolio or their savings. Now, the key player here is how fast or how slow that you're going to be pulling money out of those savings. And that brings us to kind of the famous 4% rule. It was a very classic guideline that said, save about 25 to 30 times your annual spending, withdraw at 4% a year, and then adjust your withdrawals for inflation going forward. So, around 2 to 3% increase in your withdrawals per year. It's very simple. It's very clean, and it can be a solid place to start, especially when folks are looking at saving for retirement long term. But a dynamic withdrawal strategy is another option, something that some of our clients will utilize. So here, what you do is you adjust your income based on what the market's doing. If it's a particularly good year, maybe you take a little bit more. If the market takes a dip, you might dial back a little bit, not necessarily out of fear, but utilizing that as a strategy. You can think of it like this. Your retirement income plan should be more like a sailboat, not a train. You don't just barrel forward with the same plan for 15, 20, or 30 years, no matter the conditions. What you want to do is you want to adjust your sails, stay flexible, and respond to the winds around you. That's a good way to keep moving forward, even when waters do get choppy. Because the real goal here isn't to just avoid running out of money, it's also to live fully, but spend wisely for as long as that takes. So don't just withdraw with intention. If you're taking money out, make sure you know what you're going to be using it for. That can help you maintain flexibility in your plan and keep your money working for as long as you need it to.
All right. And that's really great. And I can't stress enough how important it is to work with a financial advisor who has your best interests in mind to deal with that and look at your withdrawal rates, things like that. And we've been talking about the importance today of longevity risk. And so far, you've touched on key concepts like estimating your lifespan, your retirement income needs, annuities, being flexible with that withdrawal rate. What's next?
Sure. Let's go back to the Kiplinger's article, How to Manage Longevity Risk in Retirement. It also recommends building a plan for your long-term care needs. In retirement, everything's connected: your health, your wealth, and your financial confidence. The older we get, the more this becomes very clear to us. Your body changes, your needs shift, and suddenly your financial plan isn't just about travel dreams, it's about real life care. Here's the stat that stops people in their tracks: 70% of people older than 65 will need some form of long term care. That's not a maybe, that's a very likely reality. And the cost isn't pocket change. According to Genworth's latest numbers, referenced in this article, a semi private room in a nursing home runs about $8,669 a month. Spoiler alert, Medicare doesn't generally cover that cost. Relying on your savings, hoping your kids step in, isn't always reasonable because that's a heavy load to carry, both financially and emotionally speaking. Medicaid is an option, but it comes with some strings attached. You'd have to spend down most of your assets before it even kicks in. And then the care might not be what you wanted for yourself or your loved ones. Kind of takes the choice away from you and puts it in the state's hands. That's why more people are turning to long-term care insurance or hybrid life insurance solutions to take that pressure off.
Right. So maybe you guys could break down the long-term care insurance and hybrid life insurance solutions for us then. Explain that a little more.
Yeah, so traditional long term care insurance can be a great safety net with yearly premiums and solid benefits, but those premiums can go up. And if you don't use the care, that money is gone. You can think of it kind of like how term life insurance works: it's use it or lose it. Hybrid policies are sometimes a smarter play for some folks. They bundle a life insurance policy with long term care benefits. So you get a growing pool of tax free money for your care if you need it. And if you don't end up using it, there is still a death benefit left for your loved ones. So we're not necessarily just wasting dollars on a benefit we never received. And here's a potentially valuable twist. Some life insurance policies let you actually tap into that death benefit while you're still living and utilize it for care if needed. So that's what's called a living benefit. Now, the right move on this depends very much on your individual circumstances, your age, your health, family history, your financial picture. When it comes to looking at these long-term care and life insurance policies, there's going to be underwriting that's involved. And so it's going to be very individualized. Bottom line here is you don't necessarily need to leave this to chance, because when the time comes, you want to have options, you want to be treated with dignity, and you want your family focused on you and your well-being, not your bank account.
Right. And planning for long-term care costs. My mom is in long-term care, has been for 2 years, full care facility, and it's $11,000 a month. So I think the hybrid policies they have now are so great. They're much more consumer friendly, and you don't lose what you put in. You can still get a death benefit if you don't use the long-term care aspect of it for your loved ones. So I think it's fantastic, but this is something you need to work with a financial professional like yourselves to get the right plan in place for you and your needs. So what's another strategy?
Sure. Another solid strategy step, maybe taking advantage of a health savings account. This kind of helps combat longevity and healthcare challenges. Consider contributing to a health savings account or HSA. HSAs offer a triple tax benefit. Contributions are tax-free, money grows tax-free, and withdrawals for medical expenses are tax-free. Additionally, there's no required minimum distributions in retirement, and after age 65, you can use those HSA funds for non-medical expenses without any penalty.
So I think that's really good. Now we're almost out of time. It's flown by. I just noticed we're almost out of time here for today's show. So before we go, we've covered a lot. Our listeners, I'm sure, have questions or maybe want to get their plan in place to make sure, again, that their bank account doesn't hit zero before their blood pressure does, right? How can we do that?
Yep. So listeners can visit our website at retirewithbushka.com. Again, that's retirewithbuska.com, or give our office a call at 715-355-4445 for that complimentary, no cost, no obligation consultation. And we can discuss, longevity risk, what we talked about today, as well as a variety of different other financial strategies to help customize a retirement plan for that particular individual or household. It's our goal to help you prepare for a retirement that you've worked so hard for.
All right. Sounds good. Great show today, guys. A lot of great information you've given us. Listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Financially Speaking with our hosts, Ryan Pekka and Ryan Connor.